Welcome everyone to the Township Council Workshop Meeting, Monday, June 13th, 2022. This meeting is now called to order. We're honored to have the Girls Power Robotics team. If you would approach the podium and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, we'd be honored.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, ladies. Mrs. Kraus, can you please read the statement of public notice?
Take notice that adequate notice of this meeting has been provided in accordance with NJSA 10:4-8 and NJSA 10:4-10 as follows. Notice of the meeting was prominently posted on the bulletin board at the Municipal building located at 225 Main Street, Little Falls, New Jersey on March 11th, 2022. A copy of the notice was mailed to the North Jersey Herald and News and the Record on the same date. Additionally, a copy of the notice was filed in the office of the Township Clerk on said date. A link and a telephone number to join the meeting virtually can be accessed on the Township website at www.lfnj.com. Electronic provisions have been established for the public to participate during the public comment portion of the meeting.
Thank you. Mrs. Kraus, at this time, please call the roll.
Councilmember Havletts,
Present.
Councilmember Kawadi,
Present.
Councilmember Seaver, Councilmember Vanchery,
Present.
Council President Scoba.
Present. At this time, I'll turn the floor over to Mayor Damiano.
Thank you, Council President. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go a little bit out of order because we are joined this evening by our Girl Power Robotics team, who was recently down in Texas in April and brought back to Little Falls a trophy with them from a competition with over 50 teams from around the entire world. And I am going to ask Madeline, Ella, Camilla, Evelyn, and Peyton to join me up here along with their coach, who brought them down and brought the trophy back home to Little Falls, as I read a little bit about what they did and as I ask them to accept a medal. So girls, if you could join me up here and to tell everyone just a little bit about what they did. Girl Power Robotics is a team of 5 girls who participated in the first robotics world champion in Houston, Texas in April. They were one of 50 teams from around the entire world that were invited to compete at the Lego League Explore level. They had to work as a team and created a town in transportation and coded a sorting center to solve a cargo transportation problem. They won the Core Value Award, which shows the team displayed extraordinary enthusiasm and spirit. They know they can accomplish more together than they could as individuals and shows each other and other teams respect at all times. Girls, I want to congratulate you on such an incredible accomplishment. It's incredible that you got to bring a trophy home to Little Falls that I see you brought right over here with you. And we have a medal for each one of you girls to go along with the medals that you guys won down there. Pretty cool things. Congratulations, girls. Here's some medals for each of you. We got a full load of trophies? All right, come on. Come on, let's do that. Come on, join us in the photo. You took the trip too. All right, congratulations, girls. And girls, while you guys are certainly invited to stay here for the entire meeting, I don't know that you necessarily want to, and if you guys want to leave, it's a perfect time to do that. We'll be here till 8. You can leave them. All right, and now I'm going to ask our members from Unico to join me up here for the reading of a proclamation in honor of Unico's 50th year here. All right, and the proclamation reads, whereas Little Falls chapter of Unico was established 50 years ago on March 8th, 1972. And whereas in 1976, the name was changed to Passaic Valley chapter of Unico to represent Little Falls, Woodland Park, and Totowa. And whereas Passaic Valley Unico is just one chapter of the largest Italian-American service organization in the USA. And whereas Unico's mission is to engage in charitable works, support higher education through scholarships, and perform patriotic deeds. Now therefore, I, James Belford Damiano, Mayor of the Township of Little Falls, on behalf of the Little Falls Township Council, do hereby recognize and congratulate Passaic Valley Chapter of Unico on their 50th anniversary. Congratulations. Thank you guys. You guys are certainly also welcome to stay if you want. Okay. Thank you guys. All right, we have another proclamation this evening recognizing the New Jersey Jackals, who have now just celebrated their 25th anniversary right here in Little Falls, playing at the Yogi Berra Stadium there. Again, to remind everybody, right here in Little Falls at Montclair State University. And the proclamation reads, whereas the New Jersey Jackals, who proudly play right here in Little Falls at Yogi Berra Stadium, are a professional baseball team founded in 1998. And whereas the Jackals are celebrating their 25th anniversary, and whereas the New Jersey Jackals are a member of the East Division of the Frontier League, an independent league which is a partner league of Major League Baseball. And whereas the Jackals were previously members of the Northeast League, Northern League, Canadian American Association of Professional Baseball, and All-American Baseball Challenge. And whereas the Jackals have been a successful franchise over the years, having won 5 championships. And whereas we recognize the Jackals for being one of the most successful franchises in independent baseball. And now therefore be it resolved that I, Mayor James Belford Damiano, on behalf of the Township Council, do hereby honor the New Jersey Jackals and celebrate their 25th year anniversary. And finally, I know we are now almost 2 weeks into the month, but on the first of the month, we had our annual Pride flag raising ceremony outside where I read a proclamation that I'd also like to read this evening right here on the record. And it reads, whereas our nation was founded upon the declaration that all people are created equal, that life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness are among the inalienable rights of every person, and that each person shall be accorded the equal protection of the law. And whereas the LGBTQ+ community has made great strides forward, but equality, inclusion, and acceptance have not yet been fully achieved. We must practice these values and teach them to future generations. And whereas this year marks the 53rd anniversary of the Stonewall riots, the birth of the Pride celebrations as we know them, and during LGBTQ+ Pride Month, we commemorate the events of June 1969 and commit to achieving equal justice under the law for the LGBTQ+ community. And whereas we celebrate and support our LGBTQ+ community's right to live their lives out loud during Pride Month and every month as we celebrate Pride, we must continue to demand equal rights for all. Now, therefore, I, James Belford Damiano, Mayor of the Township of Little Falls, on behalf of the Township Council, do hereby proclaim June 2022 as LGBTQ+ Pride Month in the Township of Little Falls, and we encourage all residents to celebrate the progress within our culture towards justice, equality, and full civic recognition for LGBTQ plus persons and to join us in the fights that remain to be won. Council President, that's all the proclamations that I have this evening. And I know I have some reports coming up, but I will wait until then.
Thank you, Mayor. We'll move on to have a motion to open the meeting for public and general matters and general and agenda items.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember
Second.
Aquati, second by Councilmember Hablitz. All those in favor of that signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed to that motion, please do so by saying nay. The motion carries. Mrs. Kraus, please read the statement.
Anyone wishing to address the Township Council may do so through the Council President. Please give your name and address for the record. Comments are to be limited to 3 minutes. However, if appropriate, you may be granted additional time in the sole discretion of the Council President. Members of the public who have joined the meeting virtually and desire to provide comment shall raise their virtual hand in the Zoom application. The meeting moderator will cue the members of the public that wish to provide comment, and the Council President will recognize them in order. Members of the public who have joined the meeting by calling in must press *6 to mute and unmute themselves and *9 to raise their hand. Members of the public who have joined the meeting via the Zoom application must click the reactions icon and then the raise hand icon. Please give your name and address for the record. Once the process is complete, we will return to the regular order of business.
Thank you, Mrs. Kraus. The floor is now. You could just state your name. You do not need to state your address.
Luis Fernandez,
Good evening.
how are you? Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. I have 2 questions. One of them I was going to go over at the last meeting, but unfortunately the chief of police had to run out. So if you have a moment, I will love to ask you that question that I had.
Go ahead, Mr. Fernandez. It'll be through the floor, but you can ask your question.
Okay.
Go ahead.
And at this point, I don't know is it okay if I call you chief? Because I read a few reports where chief is being a racist, is this, you don't know what to say anymore. Because
If you feel comfortable
he
in calling
reminds of the-
Chief Brawl, you could say Chief Brawl. It's Deputy Chief, but you can call Chief Brawl. You're
Chief,
fine.
okay. Like I said, I didn't want to insult anyone. I had the chance to go over the YouTube meeting 2 weeks ago, and I had the chance to, like I said, to listen to your speech, and I don't know, maybe it was the way it was said, maybe it was the way it was read, maybe it was, I don't know, but to me it sounds, and some of the things that you said, it sounds like you are isolating that group from the rest of it. You are dividing that group from the rest of the people. And
Mr. Fernandez, can you specify what group you're alluding to?
LGBT,
Okay, thank you.
LGBTQ.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, like, for example, he says, you mentioned, and I quote, that it will be the liaison between the office, the police and the community. It will assist the students in case of harassing, intimidation, bullying. It will be, this person will be collaborating with the businesses and schools through education and referral services. Implement a police department recruitment program that actively advertises to LGBTQ community, develops and maintain an open, trusting relationship between the LGBTQ community and the police department. And lastly, assist in police matter regarding LGBTQ matters. End of quote. And too much emphasis seems to be put on this group, LGBT. How about the rest? The rest of the citizens that are not members of the LGBTQ. How about the Latinos, heterosexuals?
So,
Do they have a liaison?
Mr. Fernandez, so your question is that.
No, hold on a second. Let me finish, please. So to me, and maybe like I said, maybe it was the way the speech was written, maybe it was the way it was said. But when you label groups, and in this case, the LGBTQ, based on their sex preference or orientation, whatever you want to call, I think you are dividing the population. You are taking a group out of, making it a group, isolating them as a group, instead of saying, this person, and I have nothing against establishing a liaison police officer or whatever to the community, but for the entire community, not just for that represents every group in the community, not just the LGBTQ. You follow what I'm saying or what I'm trying to say?
Okay, Mr. Fernandez, I think you made your point. Does the council have any questions or comments regarding, before I pass this on to the chief and the mayor, concerning Mr. Fernandez's dialogue about the new program?
Sure.
Councilman Quaddi?
I'll just take, because I personally commended the chief for welcoming this position. So I actually understand your concern that when we have a liaison or something to a specific group, other groups may be left behind.
What's that?
Perfectly fair concern. So I don't know how closely you follow the news, but there have been reports in recent years that this particular community has been targeted with violence and hate crimes and things like that. So when there's a, I don't want to say for lack of a better word, a flare up of activity against a particular group, and a member of that group comes to the chief and says, I would like to be a liaison so that in case something like this were to happen in Little Falls, or to prevent something like this from happening in Little Falls, I, meaning this particular officer, Sergeant Gilchrist, with specific knowledge of the group in question, have valuable knowledge and experience that may help the police to better do their jobs. That's what this is about from my perspective. That's everything that what the chief said in his statement was about. It was about, there's a problem. There is a person who is uniquely, well, maybe not uniquely within the group, but certainly extraordinarily qualified to deal with it. And that person is willing and asking for the opportunity to deal with it. By the same token, if you mentioned the Latino community, if the Latino community was being targeted with crimes, and there was a Latino officer who said, I think I can offer something to the department and the community, then we should embrace that person and empower them to do just that.
Thank you.
That
I
is why I'm supportive of it, and I think that's
understand
why.
your point.
that's the-
I understand your point. The
Mr.
point-
Fernandez, I have to ask the rest of the council.
Oh, I'm
before we
sorry.
can, Councilmember Havlet, do you have anything to add? Councilmember Cherry, Mayor?
I was just going to say,
Whatever, go ahead.
you know, I'm hoping, I know Deputy Chief Pearl will address this, but just understand too, with the police department, they have they have the entire staff there. And some have specialties where they handle certain situations, whether it's community policing, DRE, domestic violence, in this case too, LGBTQ as well. So, but they all work together no matter what. Having an officer in place who is that liaison is still going to work with the chain of command. It's not as if, because where you're kind of portraying it as, oh, it's just a separate entity. It's not. It's part of
That's the way
the police department. It's someone just working closely within the police department. So that's why, you know, I hope that Deputy Chief will get a chance to address it after the mayor does as well. But I don't want you to think that
Yeah.
it's a singled
That's the
out
way I
position.
understood it. And when you say, and I agree with you, when you say, Councilman Kawadi, when you say that groups have been battered, so have the Asians lately, and I'm sure you read the news. So have the Jews, so have the Latinos. And I don't
Absolutely.
see- So when you specifically and only say the LGBTQ, the rest of the groups, they feel like left back.
But understand that the chief didn't go seeking an LGBT officer. Somebody in the department came to him and said, I would like to serve this role. Will you empower me to serve that role? I'm sure that if there was a Latino or an Asian or a Jewish person or any other person who said, I would like to just use my specific knowledge to help the department to have better outreach towards the community, I can't imagine that the chief would be opposed to that, provided it was a sort of a
Well,
recognized
It
group,
wasn't
right?
only
You
the
know.
department, he's the businesses, the school, the, quite a few things, so.
Well, no, it's the department's outreach towards the school. It's the department's outreach towards the business. It's not, and I don't believe, Chief, maybe you can clarify this, that this comes at any cost to the department.
No,
Yeah,
I
we'll-
didn't say, I
We'll-
didn't.
No,
Yeah,
just to be
that's okay.
clear, just to,
We'll get to the deputy chief in a moment. Mayor, the floor.
Sure. So, Mr. Fernandez, the intention of this liaison, it's designed to help bridge a gap in an area where there continues to be a divide. And I know you had mentioned, you know, why isn't there a heterosexual liaison? And what I will tell you is this, is I think if there was a male heterosexual liaison. To say that there's a gap that needs to be bridged, I don't know that that's necessarily the case, right? There is not this large divide between the police and heterosexual men. There is potentially a divide between police and LGBTQ plus community. And this is an effort to bridge that gap, to assist those that are having difficulties. And we place, and especially young individuals, we typically tend to tell them to place their trust in the police. And this is a group who's at a higher risk for suicide. This is a group who, by Sergeant Gilchrist inserting herself in the schools, whether it be the local schools, the high school, someone who may not have come out yet to the community, to the public, to their family, may be able to approach her as a trusted individual and say, I'm nervous. I have concerns. I don't want to be shunned by my family, by the public. What can I do? How can I get around that? And hopefully, she may be able to save a life. She may be able to assist someone in coming out to their family, the public. And again, this is a group, as we had just talked about, that has been discriminated against. And there are certainly plenty of other groups, as you indicated, that have been discriminated against. But this is also an effort being put forth by the state. I believe we're 50 some odd, one of 50 some odd now municipalities that have this LGBTQ plus liaison officer. And it allows them to collaborate as a group to figure out what they can best do as a group to assist their municipality and the state in furthering the efforts of what it is that they are, employed here to do in this additional role. So again, I would love to have a liaison to every minority group. I would love to. Again, I don't believe that there's a downside to that, but this is someone, as Councilman Kawadi said, came forward and said, hey, this is a new thing being run by the state. There's an organization, a group that gets together that meets about this particular issue. I would love to advance that in Little Falls. And that's something that I certainly applaud for Sergeant Gilchrist coming forward and saying she wants to take on. I think it can only provide a benefit to the municipality. And that is really the intention of this particular role here for the police department, for the township, and for the community. And again, I think the chief's position for businesses, for the schools, that was just illustrative of some of the areas where this liaison may be able to provide additional support. I don't think it was intended to be an all-inclusive list.
Maybe I understood it incorrectly.
Um,
I thought it was a little bit.
Mr. Fernandez, at this time, I'm going to ask the chief. Sorry, Mr. Fernandez. Chief, would you like to comment on Mr. Fernandez' comments and questions regarding the new program that you've instituted with the department?
I think Councilman Kawadi put it the best, that this was something that an officer had come to me about. It wasn't a program that I initiated and solicited somebody to fulfill.
You just left.
So that's important.
Tap on the mic.
Tighten the bottom.
Is that better?
Yes, go ahead, Chief.
Don't touch it now.
Or the desk.
Okay. So when I have an officer that is obviously an out member of the community, and two, looking to institute this here in Little Falls, I thought of nothing but the positive side to it. It was never my intent to alienate or, not include everyone else. But as far as, the underrepresented part of the LGBTQ community, I thought it was more important to kind of recognize this position. One sexuality is something that you really can't see outwardly, as opposed to somebody's maybe their race or their religion. So we do have Latino officers. Yo puedo hablar español, and I have additional officers.
Muy malo, I should say.
Yo puedo leer y escribir muy bien. So you know, and all of my officers are trained in bias crimes. And it's important, one, to be empathetic. But when you have an officer who can talk from personal experience, and they can show that true sympathy to an underrepresented group when it comes to hate crimes, I think it's so, you know, vitally important for them to be that liaison or to be that the investigating officer. So if we had a complainant come in that only spoke Spanish, we would call in one of our Latino officers to come in, and they would deal with them, you know, and have that communication, because I feel if they're a member, if somebody in the public is, you know, LGBTQ member and they come in, I can't relate to them, you know, as far as living the lifestyle and doing those things. But I have an officer here who's willing to come in on our off time and, you know, lead the investigation or assist the officers in, you know, leading the investigation. So that's kind of why we,
Thank you, Chief.
I just hope that this is, like you said, to unify, helps to unify the community, not divide the community. And that was my concern. Number two, my second question, and it comes after, you may recall me asking in the past few months, whatever happened to Chief Sweezy? I've asked on a couple of occasions. Today I received an email that is pretty disturbing. I'm sure some of you must have read it. They're aware of it. So what was a secret and we couldn't talk about it, you know, months ago, now we can talk about it. And it's out in the public. Why couldn't my questions be answered months ago when I asked?
Mr. Fernandez, your questions wouldn't be answered months ago, and they're not going to be answered this evening as well. We don't comment on personnel matters, especially matters that are in the courts. And Mr. Wenzel, would you like to alliterate on that?
Right. So the council president is absolutely correct, Mr. Fernandez. The council and the public forum does not speak on personnel matters. This remains a personnel matter. The chief has obviously expressed his right to file a lawsuit, which is a one-sided document, as is an answer, a one-sided document. That's why we have lawsuits, and that's why we have attorneys and courts and judges to ferret out the allegations and bring the matter to a conclusion. So all that, when you say something has come out, the thing that has come out, I believe what you're referring to is the complaint that was filed on behalf of former Chief Sweezy. The council is not going to comment on, it still remains a personnel matter. It now is a matter in litigation, so it's also something I would, as their counsel, suggest them not to comment on, and it will proceed through litigation.
I just, like I said, I thought that, and just by reading the email that I received this morning, that a gentleman that contributed to the community for 47 years, you know what his pay was? Zero. Deserves a little bit more respect. And once again, just by reading the email, it sounded sort of a vendetta. And I don't want to use that word because I know it's a little, you accuse me all the time of having a vendetta against somebody. So that's what it sounded. I guess eventually this matter will come to light. And I hope it comes into the public. And we'll find out what happened and why a gentleman, the fire chief of the police department, which has been complimented and had accolades up the gazoo, you know, for many, since I come to these meetings, once in a while you read the letters and things like that, was let go just like that. I think he deserves.
Well, I thank you for your interest and your remarks, Mr. Fernandez. I can assure you this governing body, the council members that sit up at this dais, were duly informed and make sure that the mayor was within his bounds and staff was within their bounds before any decisions were made. Mayor, would you like to further anything on this topic?
other than to say that former Chief Sweezy has presented his allegations to the township. That is, again, his side of the story. The township will vigorously defend those. And
Will it come to the public, or is it going to be a sealed?
the ultimate resolution will be as public as any ultimate resolution may be.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fernandez. Mr. Kusia, is there anyone in the public? I see a hand up with Mr. Vedri. Mr. Vedri, good evening. Can you hear us? Mr. Vedri? Is he mute? Mr. Vedri,
He's muted.
is he muted, unmuted?
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Vedri, the floor is yours, sir.
Sorry, can't start my video for some reason, but I just wanted to take the opportunity to thank the mayor and council for their assistance. June 3rd, we had our planting event at the Passaic River on Woodcliff Avenue, as well as Zealiff Avenue. It was the first year we had planted on Zealiff Avenue. I believe we planted nearly 30 trees throughout the township, in addition to other areas. And the assistance of Ron Stell and Ron Campbell is tremendous. We could not do it without them and without the cooperation from the township. And we thank the mayor for attending. So I just wanted to thank everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Vedri, for your kind comments and joining us this evening.
Thank you.
Mr. Kusia, is there anyone else that would like? So in the future, what are we going to call this? Like the chat room when people, what titles should we use? I mean, it's not Zoom, like what are we?
It is Zoom.
Right.
It remains Zoom, but the people out in the internets.
Yeah, I'm looking for a better title than that. So council, figure out a better name, Figure out a better name. Right, thank you. So seeing no one else wants to come forward, we're going to close the public. Have a motion to close the public.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Quadri, second by Councilmember Cherry. All those in favor of close the public, do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed to that, do so by saying nay. That motion does carry. Mayor Damiano, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're bringing us before us this evening.
Yes, thank you, Council President. The first item on the agenda this evening is a resolution authorizing the advertisement for bids for the fire alarm system for the municipal building complex. This building was constructed in 2006. Unfortunately, the way technology moves nowadays, anything that was built longer than 7 minutes ago is antiquated. The fire alarm system in this building, in order to allow us to move to the next step of protection for the building for both fire and burglary and for access to the building, in order to get to that step, the fire alarm system of this building needs to be upgraded. We are simply asking this evening that the council authorize the advertisement for the bids for the fire alarm system for the municipal building complex. And that is item number 1.
Any questions or comments? That's pretty straightforward. Mayor, 2.
Sure. Item number 2. Item number 2 is the resolution awarding the contract for the Main Street Streetscape Section 4 project, Maple Street to Patterson Ave. I am very excited about asking that the council author this or execute this resolution awarding the contract this evening. This is to continue the streetscape, down Main Street now. We now have funding, and again, this is a small section from Maple to Patterson on Main Street, but we now have funding for the streetscape from Van Ness Ave all the way to Union. Over the next several months, we'll continue to see several phases of this project done, which again, we hope will bring the curb appeal and the beauty really to the downtown. It'll include new curbs, new sidewalks, new streetlights, new signage, and the like, really bringing a charm back to our downtown, really lighting it up for the holidays. It'll give us the ability to hang wreaths, to put up banners, to do all of those sorts of things. And the best part of this is that this is funded almost entirely by a grant from the state of New Jersey DOT. So streetscape funds being applied towards that are certainly a benefit to such a massive project.
Does the council have any questions or comment regarding item number 2? Mayor, I do. I was thinking when I was reading the agenda over the weekend, if you could get back to the council with how many grants for streetscapes we received and how many projects, because I think years ago, none of this really happened in our township of Little Falls. In the past 3 to 4 years, quite a lot through you're dealing with our grant and the staff have brought a lot of monies to the town through streetscapes.
Absolutely, Council President. I can certainly look into that, and not to bore you with the story, but I can tell you we now have a grant writing service that provides a service to this municipality. I will tell you initially when I had this discussion with Mr. Kuchia, this is now, I believe it was about 5 or 6 years ago when I was when I was elected mayor. He was a bit skeptical about paying a grant writer to write grants for the municipality because there are some services that will get paid based upon a contingency based upon the amount that they collect and bring in for the municipality. I am happy to report to this council that Mr. Kuchia, I believe, has become a believer in them. The amount of grants that we have secured over these past 5 or 6 years has been extraordinarily better than the 5 or 6 years prior to them writing for this township. So although there is a small fee associated with them writing grants for the municipality each year, the amount of funding that they have brought in has doubled, tripled, or quadrupled the amount of funds that we have previously received, to the tune of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Thank you, Mayor. Item number 3.
Yes, items number 3, 4, and 5, I'll kind of do them as a group. It is 3 resolutions authorizing the insertion into the 2022 municipal budget. One of them for the Click It or Ticket grant, one of them for the distracted driving grant, and one of them for the Safe Corridors grant. The Click It or Ticket campaign grant that we received was for $7,000. The distracted driving campaign grant was for an additional $7,000. And I am very pleased to report that the Safe Corridors grant is now back up to $64,366, a number that used to be larger in years past. The state was not allocating those funds to the smaller municipalities for the past handful of years. And fortunately for us this year, the number has jumped back up, although not at the $75,000 mark that it once was, certainly better than the zero that it was a couple of years ago. And we're now back at the 64,000 and change mark. So I'm very pleased that we'll be able to utilize those funds towards additional manpower from our police department to ensure that we don't have individuals on cell phones, that our drivers in town are wearing their seatbelts properly, and as well as to provide additional enforcement along the Route 46 corridor.
Thank you, Mayor. Any questions or comments regarding 3, 4, 5?
I was just gonna have something.
Councilmember Vanchery.
Mayor, or even Deputy Chief, if you want to address this with 3, 4, 5. It's always interesting when you see comments on social media when the police department is enforcing some of these laws that are in place. So I just wonder if you can talk about why it's important, because the numbers continue to rise with distracted driving, of course, and drivers not wearing their seatbelts.
Would you like to make any comment regarding that?
Yes, it's so important. I believe the comment you're referring to was when the officers were on Road Street by ShopRite, and some residents thought it was a waste of resources. But I think it is important to note that it was a grant that the officers were out there on. So there was no cost to the town. It's being reimbursed. And just having that visibility out there because of the increase of traffic accidents and fatalities that result of, or because of either distracted driving or people that are unrestrained in a vehicle. So I think it's important. I mean, when I was a kid, I don't even think there were seatbelts in cars, and car seat, that was like your mom just held you on the lap. But, we learn. So we're out there, we're enforcing it. And it's important to note that backseat passengers are required now by law to wear seatbelts. So I know that changed a number of years ago. And it's not about writing tickets. It's about educating the public. So just having the interaction, just letting them know what the violation it is, whether they get a ticket or not, really doesn't, not a concern of ours, but, or mine at least. But it's just educating the public, being a little bit safer out there.
Thanks, Chief.
So,
Councilmember Quaddi, the floor is
Yes,
yours.
just for clarification, Chief, for the public. So the grant pays for overtime for police officers so that you're not taking somebody off the road to do this. Is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
It's a reimbursement grant that we pay them. They're, they get their overtime. And then the grant reimburses the town for the money that was paid out.
So the safety of the town is otherwise not impacted. by
No,
these programs. Thank you.
Coming from other off-duty assignments, the shift is still working the shift.
Perfect. Thank you.
Councilmember Havertz, you have anything you want to add?
No.
Okay, so we'll move on. Have a motion to approve resolutions A through F at this time.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Vanchery,
Second.
second by Councilmember Hablitz. Mrs. Kraus, this is a roll call approving resolutions A through F. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Hablitz,
Yes.
Councilmember Kawadi,
Yes.
Councilmember Vanchery,
Yes.
Council President Scoba.
Yes. We'll move on to kind of the motion to approve the following applications and correspondence. Everyone, Mrs. Kraus, can you just read them for the public?
Sure, you want me to read all of them or?
Yeah, just quickly, just go over.
Okay, so we have a raffle from Passaic Valley Band Association for an on-premise 50/50 on September 17th. That's being held at 100 East Main Street. We have a raffle from Our Lady of the Highway Knights of Columbus. That's a merchandise raffle being held in December at 473 Main Street. We have a raffle from American Legion Post 108. That's an on-premise 50/50. It's being held in June, and that's at 591 Main Street. We also have a request from Passaic Valley Band Association for permission to conduct a can shake fundraiser. That's in November at the intersection of Main Street and Union Avenue.
Thank you. Have a motion to approve the following?
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Vanchery,
Second,
second by Councilmember Quattie. Mrs. Kraus, please call the roll.
Councilmember Hablitz,
Yes.
Councilmember Quattie,
yes.
Councilmember Vanchery,
Yes.
Council President Scoba.
Yes, at this time we'll move on to council member reports. Councilmember Hablitz.
Thank you, Council President. So I just have a few updates. So my first update will be for the library. The library has two upcoming events this month. One for the Passaic County Clerk will be at the library on June 23rd from 5 to 7 p.m. They will be there with full passport services, notary oath and renewals, and free veteran ID cards. Also, there will be a superhero story time on Monday, June 27th, with Little Falls' own Chubsy Wubsy. The library will also kick off their summer reading at the market this Sunday. They left already, but I did want to say congratulations to the Girl Scouts. Myself and Councilman Vanchery were on the sneak peek call of their project, and we're so very proud of them. So we're proud of the Girl Scouts. And then lastly, I wanted to say myself and my fellow council members supported the annual Families Behind the Badge this weekend. It was great seeing the Little Falls Police partake in this event. All the monies raised went to the state PBA fund for fallen officers and directly to the families of officers that were lost in the line of duty. So although they didn't do very well in the game, it was very nice to see them. So we thank them for that. Oh, I'm sorry. And one more thing, the farmer's market is going strong every Sunday now through October 30th. This Sunday, not only will we have the library kicking off their summer reading program, but we will also have Mr. Polara and the Cool Beans Band playing music for Father's Day. So come on down from 9 to 2. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Hablitz. Councilmember Quattie.
Thank you, Council President. Of course, I would also like to congratulate the Girl Scouts and the Police Department for the participation in both of those events. The Girl Scouts obviously faring better than our Little Falls PD, but it's the effort that counts. So congratulations to the ladies and gentlemen from the PD as well. I joined Superintendent Marinelli at her Talk a Latte this last week. And I just want to encourage people, if you have anyone in the schools or you're concerned about the schools, Superintendent Marinelli does hold these events from time to time. They are informal meetings where she listens to concerns and updates people about what's going on in the schools. Part of what was discussed was school safety. And if we weren't sure enough before, I think she made everyone feel at ease that between her efforts, the efforts of the chief and the rest of the township, the schools are as safe as they can be, which no system is perfect, obviously, but I don't feel like there is anything more that can be done in Little Falls to keep our children safe. And having a child in the schools, I want to extend my appreciation to everybody involved in that effort, not just in keeping the children safe, but making us feel like the children are safe, which is an important part of the equation as well. Going through the events that are coming up, July 23rd is Water Day. Please come down, bring your super soaker, leave your attitude at home and put your bathing suit on and ride some slides and have a water gun fight. That'll be a fun event. And then right after that, July 27th, we kick off our movie nights with Christmas in July. That movie is A Christmas Story. The following week will be Halloween in August with the Addams Family. And then in Encanto, August 17th, we celebrate Officer Vanek's birthday with Raiders of the Lost Ark, the film that he chose. And then we round it all off with Ratatouille. So we try to pick films that appeal to children, but are entertaining for adults as well. And so every night we've had it, whether it was outdoors on a beautiful night or inside because of the rain. It's always been a fun event, so please join us. Lastly, Father's Day is coming up. I don't know if anyone noticed, but I am using a different nameplate tonight because that was my father's nameplate from Woodland Park. And so to honor him this evening, it was a gift from our friends in Woodland Park. I decided to put it up on the dais tonight. I lost him this year, and he is with me in this seat every day, as he has been, whether he was with us or not. And so I want to honor him tonight. I want to honor the fathers that are up here and in the audience and on the other side of the dais, particularly the people who dedicate so much time to this town that takes us all away from our families. It does not go unnoticed, and we appreciate your efforts. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention that Councilwoman Hablitz lost her father recently. And I'm going to repeat something that I overheard someone say once, and it applies here. And the saying is, I didn't know your dad, but I know he was a good man because I know you.
Thank you so much.
And my thoughts are with you because I know this is going to be a difficult week for both of us. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Kawadi. The floor is yours, Councilman Vanchery.
Thanks, Council President. One thing I do want to say is I know you were looking in before we talked about what do we call the members of the public that are on Zoom? Well, we call the members of the public, who are here in this room. So why not just say members of the virtual public as well to be a part of it, to keep it simple this way. They're all members, no matter what, whether you're on camera or you're here in person like Mr. Fernandez is all the time. Just some updates from me. I do want to say thanks for the girls robotics team for coming in today. Really appreciate Colleen and the girls coming in. As Councilwoman Hablitz said, we had a chance to get the sneak peek about an hour or so before they actually presented a competition to win, where their trip to Texas happened because of that. So very proud of the girls. And one of the things that we're looking into is to work with Colleen, her team, and some of the parents is seeing if we can build a robotics program in town. So there's been some discussions with Mr. Pace and Mr. Passero in the rec department to see if something can come together. So the robotics team is putting together a proposal. So if we can get more kids involved, not just the girls, maybe get some of the boys involved. So that's something that's definitely being discussed, and hopefully we'll have some more updates in the near future. I do also want to mention too is, thanks for, over the weekend, we had a chance to go to Families Behind the Badge that took place in Woodland Park and right here in Little Falls. And, I'm proud to say I had a chance to actually play with the police department, myself, and members of the fire department, and DPW did as well. So we had a good time. We lost a tough one to Woodland Park, 10-8. The second game was a lot harder for us since we lost 28-4, but this is the same team that beat us last year in a tournament that we were in Hudson County as well, by a similar score. But, we had a good time anyway. Like Corporal Vanek said, because him and I play softball together, we just had one bad inning. It just led to 17, 18 runs whatsoever. But it was a good event. It was a chance to honor 2 officers who lost their lives and see their families there, and just everybody from several different departments rallying for that special cause. It was a good time. So always proud to be a part of that. And I think we all had a good time. And, I think the chief had some fun with me as well for not grabbing a baseball and a ground ball. So, I appreciate the candor, of course, Deputy Chief. I do want to mention a couple of things as well. I also want to thank Commissioner Lepore and Sheriff Birdnick for recently attending the Pride flag ceremony we had on June 1st. Always appreciate the support from the county. As the mayor alluded to as well with the proclamation, we honored the Jackals for 25 years on June 4th, but on June 3rd, we actually had Little Falls night, and we had a great crowd. It was a nice night to see everybody out there. The Jackals were really happy with, the turnout. The coaches and the kids had a chance to walk on the field prior to the game. The mayor threw out the first pitch. We won't talk about that. But, he's going to practice for next year, just like I ripped Scoba. I got to rip, Damiano about that. But I appreciate you making the effort, Mayor Damiano, because it was always fun having you there. But I did talk to the Jackals that night, and it looks like we're going to do another event probably in August, another Little Falls night. It might be on a Thursday this time around, but it's just a nice way to offer up a discounted price for residents in town to have another night. Since the Jackals are in our backyard, they love the support that we get from the community, so we want to continue to support them whenever we can. A couple other things on my end. I just want to mention that a few residents had reached out that live on Park Place about possibly adding a stop sign in front of their house. So Mayor, as we've done in the past, I'll pull together a letter so that we can send it out to the residents over there to see if that is something that they're interested with. And we'll work with Deputy Chief Prawl as well to get that all squared away so we can eventually bring it to this council for an ordinance. Then the other thing I do want to mention too is a big kudos to Mr. Pace and Mr. Pizzaro in the rec department. This week is a busy week down at the rec center with a number of different championships taking place for rec baseball and softball, as well as travel softball and baseball. So there's a lot going on this week, and they did a great job this season managing everything, not only coordinating as a rec department, but also serving as commissioners in their respective sports. So if you get a chance this week, you'll see a lot going on at the rec center. Please stop by, and if you see Mr. Pace and Mr. Pizzaro, always thank them for all the support that they have. That is it for me. I just want to mention too, is Councilman Quaddy, as you put it very well, with Father's Day, everything going on for you. I just want to wish everyone a happy Father's Day as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Vanchery. Councilmember Hablitz, if I'm coming down Main Street, what is the street before rear? Before rear? Is it Zealand? Yes, thank you.
Fairfield, which
Yeah.
direction?
I'm sorry.
Which direction?
Oh, if I'm headed towards 23, it's Zealand, correct?
Yes.
I should know. That. Go to that joint establishment quite often. Okay. Mayor, as you know, you established a donate tree program in memory of those individuals, residents that wanted to remember their loved one. You started this program and we did plant 3 trees on Zealand. And I'm happy to tell you that I got a call from Little Falls Trophy and the memorial bronze tributes are finally in. I gave Mr. Ron Stella a call, Mr. Ron Campbell, I'm sorry, a call to go pick those up. We're going to put them in cement. We'll get in touch with the families and we'll have a little dedication service on Zealand with those 3 trees. It serves 2 purposes. One, it's a living memory of those individuals that do not have no markings of their loved ones. And it also helps those areas that were homes that were bought by the buyout by the federal government to beautify those areas. So it serves as a dual purpose. So I'm really happy to inform the council, the mayor, that that's finally coming to an end, that we're going to be able to do that. As far as the senior advisory, we're going to be holding a program with Dr. Jack Zuckerman. What is about holding your balance, what happens if you fall, how to get up, how to not re-injure yourself. I think maybe some of the ball players need that, right? On Wednesday, June 29th, I really shouldn't have said that because I'll probably get pulled over or something tonight. June 29th, 12 to 2. It's really a good program. I know myself, I've unfortunately I fell 2 or 3 times and I did not get up appropriately and I made the injury a lot worse. So that's going to take place again on June 29th. Have a motion to open the meeting for public agenda items only.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Hablitz, second by Councilmember Vanchery. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those
Aye.
opposed signify by saying nay. Mrs. Kraus.
Anyone wishing to address the Township Council may do so through the Council President. Please give your name and address for the record. Comments are to be limited to 3 minutes. However, if appropriate, you may be granted additional time in the sole discretion of the Council President. Members of the public who have joined the meeting virtually and desire to provide comment shall raise their virtual hand in the Zoom application. The meeting moderator will cue the members of the public that wish to provide comment, and the Council President will recognize them in order. Members of the public who have joined the meeting by calling in must press *6 to mute and unmute themselves and *9 to raise their hand. Members of the public who have joined the meeting via the Zoom application must click the reactions icon and then the raise hand icon. Please give your name and address for the record. Once the process is complete, we will return to the regular order of business.
Thank you. Is there anyone that would like to make the floor is open? Mr. Fernandez?
Still Luis Fernandez. It's funny that Councilman Vanchery mentioned Commissioner Laporte, because about 3 weeks ago, I sent him an email. The email, for those who commute, for those that drive on that area, I'm talking about the area between, at the intersection of Union Avenue and Furler, I think it's called, where the Gold Gym is, in that area. It's horrible. The potholes are horrible. It's been patching, repatch again like 20 times. So I sent Mr. Laporte an email. He responded back to me, all of a sudden it's not his area. He sends it's not ours. It's not the county's road, it's somebody else's road, and the passing the buck continues. It's slated to be paved in the future. Whatever. I was wondering if you can at least help the residents before our cut, the ones that commute and pass through that intersection on a daily basis before our cars go bananas. Because there is it looks like a mini Swiss cheese put down on the road with so many holes and patches. So please, if you can help out.
Mr. Fernandez, is that Fuller Road in Totowa? Is that not correct?
I think
Further.
it's-
Fuller and Road in
Furler.
Totowa? Is it by
Furler.
the gym? Okay,
Or-
is it called Fuller? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Councilmember Cherry, can you look into that and get back to Mr. Fernandez and see what assistance you could get? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we could reach out to Mayor Coro in Totowa.
I don't know if it is his or.
It's total, but it's easier for them to reach out because it is total. It's not a
Oh,
Little
is
Falls
that what it is?
property. Yeah. So if
Yeah.
you're talking about Fuller by Gold's
That's
Gym, I mean,
Totowa.
that's
Well,
Totowa.
actually, it's Union. Actually, it's Union.
You're saying the whole, okay, you were saying by Furler
Well,
Street
it's
by the gym.
intersection where the light is.
Okay,
But it's from the light coming towards Little Falls before 46, that area. There is, before you know.
I can reach out to him.
You'll be into Route 46, that area.
Mhm.
But all of a sudden, it doesn't belong to anybody.
Well, it belongs to somebody. Thank you,
It
Mr.
doesn't belong to
Fernandez.
us.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Fernandez.
It's in Totowa.
Deputy Chief, I'm sorry. Oh, I don't like virtual viewers. That sounds kind of like
Members of the
Space-
virtual
Space
public.
Odyssey or something. I don't really care for that. Is there anyone in the chat right now that wants for now? No, sir. All right, thank you. Deputy Chief, Chief, I want to say your officers do a great fine job. I think I missaid when someone gets pulled over. I think,
Close the public portion.
oh, yes, thank you. Can I have a motion to close the public?
So
So
moved.
moved.
By Councilmember Vanchery, second by Councilmember Quaddi. All those in favor of closing the public?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Councilman Quaddi. Paying attention, that's good. I misspoke when I said pulling over. I don't think that's the right term to use. I think it should be, officers stop for an infraction, And I have to say, your officers do a fine job because I was stopped for an infraction. I think I have to go back to driving school. And I think that's really good because it shows how, how officers pay attention and how they're out there. And I see them stopping cars all the time, especially sometimes when I'm coming home late at night, and how dangerous that could be and how scary that could be, not knowing that car that they're pulling over, what may happen. So the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you for recognizing their efforts. They have been doing a phenomenal job lately. The grants came through and they've been out there and everybody's doing a great job. So I will defend ourselves in our softball play as best as I can. So we did sustain an injury. It wasn't a police officer, but unfortunately it was another friend of ours, that played with the PBA. So we hope that he and his family are well tonight. The only thing I have is 4th of July Street Fair will be coming up. So that's a PBA event, but we'll be supporting it through community policing. So we'll be out there, we'll have a table, and we invite the members of the public to just stop by and look at all the different initiatives and programs and projects that we run that are available to the residents. So that'll be the 4th of July festival.
Thank you, Chief. Tom, you have anything you want to say this evening? Why not?
Just to update on the issue of the grants. Right now, we have grants in from Union to the end of the apartments. From the end of the apartments to Patterson. Patterson to Maple.
And in your estimation, if that was all to come true, when do you think it would all be completed?
Well, we're gonna do, we just awarded section 4, which is from Maple.
Mhm.
So that'll go this year, and from the length of from Union to the end of the apartments, that'll be going up to the short. So we don't have those 2 this year. Section 3 has signaling. Unfortunately, the supply line issues with signals are extensive. So that probably won't go into next year. The poles, we're being told that the new signal poles can be
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mannix. At this time, I want to thank the staff, Mr. Kusia, Ms. DePiero, Mrs. Kraus, for assisting in this meeting. Thank you for your efforts. I have a motion to close.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember
Second.
Terry, second by Councilmember Hablitz. All those in favor of closing to the public, closing this meeting signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please do so by signifying nay. This meeting is now closed.
Yes.
So you lost your ringer, is what you were saying.
Now, yeah.